What's going on YouTube? Uh, just want to start off today's video. I'm gonna give you a quick rundown. I know I did not die. Um, I've just been super busy with school. I have practicals and exams for my physical therapy program, so I've been hella busy. Um, Still playing the game, still grinding out games, but this is gonna be kind of like just a talking video. I am gonna be playing stuff in the background, so it's not just boring words or my ugly mug. So, um, just want to start off by saying we're almost there, guys. Like, we're almost at 700 subscribers. We're killing it right now. So I just want to say thank you again for all those who watch and follow and sub. And a big fuck you to my trolls in my comments. It doesn't bother me. I love interacting with them actually because it's funny to see the stupid shit that people say. But anyway, this is gonna be kind of like a meta talk, just going over some results from the regionals, some gameplay mistakes. Now, don't get me wrong, we're talking about people who made it all the way to the final round, so I'm by no means saying that they were unskilled, but just the little things I noticed. There was a big punt on Saturday, I believe. A Whitebeard player chose not to clear board against Zoro and got hella punished. I don't know if that was like prearranged. The guy wanted the second place map more than he wanted the first place map. I don't know. Just massive oversight. And it was a quick match, so it's not like um, he had to like think super hard about it. I think the match itself was only like 10 minutes long at best. Um, but yeah, just some general Strawbeard comments I wanted to give. Uh, if you have the opportunity to clear board, like especially early on against a deck that is as aggressive as you in Zoro and can chip at you very, very easily, you take it. Use those Robin effects efficiently, clear the board, and then you can keep going back, swinging six. So that was one thing I noticed. What else was there? Just Strawbeards across the stream in general, I noticed were over countering, which is why, and I'll keep saying it, I think 9-drop is overrated in Whitebeard. Is it good? Yeah. Is it something that, oh man, I need to stay at 2 life, I'm gonna blow all my hand size to do it? No, hell no. Don't do that. Take a life. You have 2 spare lives per game when you really think about it. So just take one. It's another thing I noticed a lot all weekend, just Whitebeard players, and I said it, who's been playing Whitebeard longer than me? No fucking body. I've been showcasing Whitebeard on the channel in all the billion variations that I've played it forever. So when I say that I know this deck, I know this deck. Do not blow your hand early. Do not overvalue your 9-drop. Um, once you've taken a hit, it's still a good card. If you've taken 2 hits, you just have to find a better spot to play it. And then sometimes, again, it's not worth playing a 4 of in Whitebeard, in my opinion. So that's just how I feel about it. It was really cool to see a lot of Smoker this weekend, this past weekend rather. We saw a Smoker, a couple Z decks, a Magellan deck, that was sick. Love that. I thought Magellan was really cool. Douglas Bullet, he was playing in that deck, and actually I like on my other test account that I use, I think I call it tier 1 or some shit. I know, super cringe. But I was playing Douglas Bullet after pre-release because that's when I like actually play that card for the first time in my life. I was like, yeah, this is really not that bad. It's a 6k body, yeah, it's 5 Don instead of 4. It's balanced Yamato. But like you're still resting something, you're able to trade board. Your Magellan's a 6k on that turn. It's like you're almost a pseudo Whitebeard every turn. I was playing Uda in that deck as a 2 of, like just because the deck had no top end that I really wanted to play. I don't think 9-drop is worth it. Maybe like as a 1 or 2 of. Just because you obviously you can't search it. And then again, like your hits this game, this metagame are very weird. Like your best matchup would be like I guess Strawbeard, where you can hit things like Luffy, Frankie, and like Vanilla Luffy. But like against Black, you're not killing any of their really good targets except maybe a Kuzan. Um, I guess Sakazuki, but like I just feel like it's very mid. It's not a strong like top end finisher. And I was playing around with Uta, like I said, just because we were playing more like mid-rangey aggro, so I tried it out, and then she like turned into a baby Whitebeard. So again, I'm playing around with that deck, but it is really cool to see that Magellan made it to top five in that tournament. Um, I got my Whitebeard gripes out of the way. No, Ivan's made it top 8, if I'm not mistaken. I still think Ivankov's a really strong deck. Don't worry, guys. I'm still with you. I still think it's a good deck. Um, Law, I had seen one of the, I believe the first stream where like, I didn't think Law was gonna be good. Well, that's because you're not good at the game. No, I'm joking. Um, Law is super good. It never fell off. It took a little while. I still think it's meta dependent. In a metagame where Zoro is everywhere, it's a lot harder. Playing against Strawbeard is not as bad as it seems. Stagebeard is a little more annoying just because they have more removal. But you can still beat both decks relatively easy. It it's really I don't like saying it just because like I don't like shitting on the community that much, but like it is a skill issue. Like if you can't play the deck well, then that's on you. But like that deck has game against everybody. It'll always be meta threat until set three. Set three he falls off a little bit, but more people. It's how it always has been with Law. It's like people are dumb and like, oh, it's not good now, and then they stop playing, and then he comes out of nowhere and gets like a top 4 finish or a top finish, and it's like, oh, Law's pretty good. um, but yeah, Law's super strong, guys. Don't sleep on Law. Um, that's all I had to say about set two. I'm loving the diversity. I'm loving how open the field is right now. Definitely better than set one. Set one gave the illusion of diversity, just because uh, people thought NA is smarter than it is. But it's like, bro, you have one card pool to work with. You're not gonna fucking crack some matrix code and magically have a different metagame. I love having that argument with people. It's like, oh, Japan starts the meta, but NA breaks the meta. It's like, bro, first off, I think that's kind of a little racist, but you know, I'm not gonna be like that. I'm not gonna be part of the woke commentary here. I'm just saying, like, you know, I come from Magic, and Japan has some of the strongest Magic players in the world. So whenever they come up with something, I'm always fucking paying attention, bro. I'm always looking to see how they innovate, and they do. They do it over time. They're really strong players. But anyway, I'm digressing. Uh, so set one wasn't that diverse. It just took NA a little longer because they didn't want to follow the trend. So they wanted to like play around and experiment. Set two, again, not much in the way of diversity. Magellan being like literally the only deck that was like, whoa, where'd that come from? Um, do I think he's good overall? Probably not. Variance is always a thing, guys. You always have to take that in consideration when you're playing games. Like, it's the same thing like when you play Kaido. Like, Kaido had a lot more top finishes in Japan. Why? Because you drew fucking amazing. uh, it didn't happen for us in the States. We had like the one Kaido player who hit top 8. Joe, I forget his last name, but I actually talked to him in one of my Facebook chats. Uh, was it Joe? I'm sorry, I forgot your name wrong. But Kaido, you know, is a super variant deck, but nobody would have said he was a weak deck, right? So again, set two, super diverse, really loving it. This is probably the most diverse the meta is gonna be until set three. If we now we're moving to set three discussion. If we get the ban, so that was the big discussion over the weekend was, oh my god, Whitebeard is dead. Uh, He kind of is. This stage beard, ironically enough, I'm playing it on screen right now. Um, not OPO3, but just stage. Um, Stagebeard was an impressive deck. If you didn't know what some of the top finishes were in Japan, Thailand, Singapore, um, out of a top 16, you were seeing like at least 8 or 9 Whitebeard. Um, you could say, well, wasn't that the same for Kid? Again, we were working with one set, so the obviously most powerful deck was still Kid, but it was still manageable. You still saw Law had almost as many top finishes for Treasure Cups than Kid did. Um, we saw the West Coast had a Luffy winner, so like you still had other decks that could compete, but like when Stagebeard is on, it's broken. And the fact that it had more consistency, more efficient removal, because now you don't even play Vista anymore, which I thought was kind of funny that you power crept Vista in one set. um, by releasing 5-drop Marco, just because 5-drop Marco, oh my god. It's the fact that he's a sticky body is what makes him broken. Like you have to run events, but like you're already doing that in Whitebeard anyway. Um, they added the search event just because it's a search and because it synergizes with your Marco card. So just that plus Ezo to help you find your boats was too much. I loved it. I was like, oh my god, this deck is amazing. And then it was like very quickly, it's like, wow, this deck is dumb. You can attribute it to like, because I've always said it, like this is kind of like the red Kaido. Like once we have our stage and we're active and we're going, like I'm nigh unbeatable. And that's how I feel the same way it would be if like Kaido randomly got an Onigashima searcher, like character guy. Like that's the search plus the super sticky minion and our ability to just draw off our life. So like green players who like try and stall, you know, that's how they were beating a red. Does it always work? No, but like it was an effective strategy to try and stop some of the aggression, right? Well, you can't do that against Stagebeard, so green died. Yellow was too slow to keep up with you. They're playing a very mid-range aggro game like you, except that, again, they're not drawing a card every turn. They don't have a random 2k bonus to the whole board. The whole board. So your leader's an 8k and every other character is 2k plus. It's like cheating 2 Don per character and leader that you have. Which is like how I looked at the card, and which is why I always said this card is a little dumb. Is because you're cheating value in a way that no other deck can. There is another problem in the meta, but like Whitebeard was the most obvious one. So again, I think it's necessary. It helps yellow get way better. It helps green become a relevant color again. Any other blue deck that isn't Nami, which we'll talk about in a second. So again, like I love Whitebeard. He's my favorite character. Obviously, look at my background, my sleeve, what I'm playing on screen right now. Like more than Law, like lore-wise. I just love Whitebeard. I'm a dad. I have dad vibes. I feel him. I respect him. But anyway, it had to be done. So, am I sad that he's gone? Sure. You can still play him. He's not going to be a tier 1 deck by any means, not having that way to recoup all that damage that you're doing to yourself. Because while adding the extra cards is amazing, missing out on all that damage that helps you compensate is a big gap. I've seen people in Japan already start playing Strawbeard again to mixed results. Like, it's okay. It's not broken. It's not, and it shouldn't be. It's just okay, which is why I said he'll probably be like a low A tier pick, maybe top of B. But compared to what else exists in the metagame, I don't think he's that strong. Still viable, play Strawbeard. Just don't expect to be where you were like when you had Stage plus all the other cards. Moving on from there, Nami was the other card or deck we were talking about over the weekend. She was not nearly gutted as hard. Um, she lost the Kabaji and the bear-looking guy. I forgot what he was, his name. So it's basically a one-drop that if you have Kabaji, or I'm sorry, you play the one-drop and then Kabaji's effect is 2 cost 3k, draw 2 cards, discard 1 if you control the one drop, right? So Nami's whole game plan is non-interactive. All she wants to do is attack your board. She's never gonna swing your life to give you extra resources, regardless of her effect to mill a card. None of the blue mill cards that attack and do damage matter because that's not what you're doing. So, she's one piece solitaire and it's the most boring deck. I thought she should have been just a meme, and she ended up being a little too overtuned. Whether that was an accident or something that was just unplanned, she's kind of busted. So Nami needs a fix, in my opinion. I think she's a little too good. Even post Kabaji ban, why is she good? She messes up the mid-range decks. Like mid-range decks that aren't swinging super fast, super early to try and pressure some of her cards out of hand are the decks that suffer the most. And there's no compensation for that. Yeah, she lost a little bit of like her consistency, but she still, for the most part, plays exactly the same. And that's it. There's nothing else to talk about there. So she's still going to be a relevant deck, maybe a little less consistent. There are other cards to put. That's 8 slots that you have to fill. It's not as, like I said, it's not as bad as Whitebeard, who got mega gutted. So that's the state of OPO3. I think, again, both bans needed to happen. Just because yellow was the brand new color that everybody was like, oh wow, look, yellow. And then, does it have top finishes? Yeah, you can go look up at OnePieceTopDecks.com right now and go check it out. But if you look at it, for the most part, who was winning everything? My boy. My boy Whitebeard was winning everything. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it is what it is. It had to happen, guys. Yellow can get pushed up out of obscurity, and again, green can come back into the meta, which was something that you really were not seeing. So definitely a lot more diversity that can be on the way. Zoro's still going to be a super strong deck. Zoro took a little while to find that adaptation, but he definitely hit his stride. He's a very super solid deck. Blue Crocodile was a deck that was seeing some play as a counter to Whitebeard and had a couple top finishes that you can go check out. I don't know how relevant that is without like 50% of the meta being Whitebeard, or 50+% of the meta being Whitebeard. It'd be cool to see if he actually has the staying power to be seen more. What else is there? Oh, Lucci, in my opinion, is probably the only other deck worth talking about when it comes to balancing. I think he's very strong. The double attack to end the game at the cost of 2 cards sounds terrible, but you guys are already doing that with Kid, and Black can turn it on very easily. Things like Garp, the starter deck Garp is really good at just letting you double attack late game, or just swinging like a low cost minion or something like that. Like, you have a lot of ways to just trigger the double attack to finish a game out of nowhere. You have staying power, because the meta for a while was, if your card cannot be killed, you were probably top of the meta. And black and red both had that, between both versions of Marco and Borsellino blocker with the new 3-drop blocker from set 3, who's just a 3 cost 3k cannot be killed blocker. So the meta was super mid-rangey and slow. Just because it was like, well, we're gonna stare at each other and then block when we absolutely need to, and that was it. So Lucci, again, I think is probably the best deck and maybe a little too good. They have ways to punish other decks that are like playing the value game with 8-drop Admiral Isho, who discards 2 cards from your opponent's hand at random if they control 8 or more cards, or 6 or more cards, sorry. So he has tools against mid-range, he has removal against everything, except obviously the mirror, and then just a really strong ability to end games, and just really good tools overall. Like, Lucci's a really good deck. He's where I think Black wants to be set 3. I still think Smoker is viable, but Lucci's probably just better. In the same way that, like I've said, Ivan is just better than Dofi. Like, Dofi is viable and still, a good deck. Is just, if I had to pick which was the better blue deck, I'm going to say Ivankov, right? And that's how I feel about Lucci. So I think Lucci is probably a little closer to the best deck and might. I don't know what the meta is going to look like or shape out to be because we're still a week off from, the initial ban that's coming anyway. So yeah, I think Black is very strong. Yellow gets pushed up a lot and can see some play. Green is back on the table. Zoro never left. So you have a lot to play with next set. It's going to be really fun. The question is, do we see the ban right away in NA? I hope so. If I get a weekend to play with Stagebeard, that'd be nice. But I do hope that right away we get hit with a ban as well, just for the sake of diversity. Does it suck? Yes. If you're going to quit the game over one balancing thing, then good riddance, goodbye. I'm not going to apologize for saying that. There's no reason to cry. I'm glad that they care about the health of the game rather than just making card sales, which it has felt like just because nobody's fucking restocking and we're having stocking issues still. Everybody was like, oh, by set 4 we should be okay. And I'm already hearing, there's still issues right now for set 3 coming out. And it's just, it feels bad. I can't buy a black deck unless I spend like fucking $25 just to get like 4 or 5 cards out of there. Or like, what is it? 7 cards to finish my Smoker deck. But anyway, like, I'm glad they give a shit enough to make these decisions, and they are the correct ones. I don't think, if you think about the game and you take your feelings out of it and you look at it from, a neutral position, you'll see why the changes needed to be made. Anybody who really likes the game will agree that, for the overall health, it had to happen. And I say that as somebody who bought alt arts. I bought the alt art leader, the character, and the character Marco. Like, I bought them literally back to back to back. And I'm not rich, guys. I don't make YouTube money. I don't even make any money on these. And I bought those because, like, I was selling like all the stuff that I had bought from my boxes, like all my alternate arts and shit. And, I was initially, it was like, oh, I played for free basically, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna invest the money that I put in one more time just because I love Whitebeard so much. And then literally the morning of me winning my auction, I got the ban news. So nobody's more hurt by this than me, guys. Except maybe the people who fully decked out their decks, in which case I'm sorry. But I did this already. It is what it is. But again, I will say I don't want to see too many bans. This game does have quite the collector base already. There's definitely value for people in collecting these cards just because it's the most popular anime IP of all time. So yes, I get, there's a big collector's market, and I don't want to see that get ruined just because bans come along. Right now what's really messing it up, by helping the collectors, is the low stock issues. So you know, the manga aces and shanks and stuff like that will probably still retain their value over time and obviously go up. Um, but you know, I don't want to see too many bans just because it messes with markets, it messes with player interest. Obviously, people are like, "Oh, I can't get into this game because I can't buy a box." That is the wrong way to play any card game. You don't play card games by buying boxes. I do it because I wanted to do YouTube videos for you guys. And yeah, it is fun to crack packs. Don't get me wrong. I like cracking packs is part of the card game experience. But like, if you wanted to build a competitive deck to play, then you're doing it absolutely the wrong way. Um, Even if boxes were MSRP, you would still be wasting more money buying boxes than you would by just buying the singles. You know what I mean? Granted, if boxes were MSRP, that means singles would be lower, yada, yada, yada. But the point is, you're still wasting more money doing it that way than just buying the singles. All the rares that you can buy, commons, uncommons, are literal cents. They're cents to a dollar. You can build almost any deck that isn't red, just because for whatever reason Zoro has retained his like $20 price tag, I think. But anyway, you don't have to play that way. You can do a lot more with your money that if you just went to TCG player. So that's all I got to say about that. The game is looking pretty good. Set 2 is awesome. Set 3 is looking to get a little more balanced. So I am looking forward to that. If you are quitting the game over some bans, again, you probably weren't that interested in the game to begin with. But that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.